Welcome to this special edition of Hustle Points. Once again, I'm Jasmine Hankerson, and I'm with Center for the Future Editor-in-Chief Brian Gillespie. So in this edition of Hustle Points, we're going to be talking about the 2014 NFL Draft. Now, Blake Bortles went number 3 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I wanted to ask you, Ryan, what do you think about this pick? What does Blake automatically add to Jacksonville?
Well, when I was watching the draft, my first thought was, I figured he would go about number 8. I thought Minnesota was kind of the team for him. I thought that's where he'd go. I was surprised he went to Jacksonville, but it's a good fit. That's a team that they don't really have any star power. They really don't have anything, on that team that really excites fans. So bringing in, a sort of a local guy, he's 2 hours away, but Blake Bortles is a good fit for them. He doesn't have to play right away. They have Chad Henne. He's an NFL veteran. He's good enough that you can put him on the field, and it's not going to be, maybe a total embarrassment or anything like that. But Blake's the kind of guy that will, I think, be on the field before the end of the season, but not necessarily from day one.
So, do you think that the Jacksonville is a good starter team for Blake? Just transitioning from UCF to the NFL.
When you look at the Jaguars roster, there's really not much there, at least going into the draft. They lost Maurice Jones-Drew to free agency. He's gone. The positive for Blake is they used their first-round pick last season on Luke Joeckel, who's a left tackle. So they have a good young left tackle to protect him. And they actually added 2 receivers after they drafted Blake, which is a good start as well. They have Marquise Lee from USC, who actually trained with Blake out in San Diego. And then they drafted Allen Robinson from Penn State after that. So 2 good young targets. They have Cecil Shorts III, who's still out there. He's had success in the NFL. And then the great unknown of Justin Blackmon, who he might be suspended for the season. That's still up in the air, but another, talented target for him. I think it's a good start.
And also in this year's draft, because Blake was just one of 2 former UCF players that declared for the draft, also the other one being Storm Johnson. And Storm actually was also picked up by the Jaguars in the 7th round with the 222nd pick. So they'll be playing again together, which should be great. What do you think that these 2 being drafted will do for UCF's program?
It's big for the program. UCF has the history of players getting drafted. You have guys like Dante Culpepper who've gone in the first round. It's back a little ways, but he's gone in the first round. A couple years ago, Josh Robinson in the 3rd round of the Vikings. There's NFL players from UCF all over the place, but when you get a season like last season, that you win the Fiesta Bowl, and then they're not a sleeper team from the aspect of it's a bunch of guys you've never heard of. Now you have a guy that you can say, look, UCF as a school, we put players in the first round of the NFL draft. We get players in the league. UCF has good players in the league, but now they have a guy that they can point to that, has proven to be an elite prospect. And now it's just a matter of him putting it all together to say, we have this elite prospect, and now, 5-10 years down the road, here he is potentially as a Pro Bowler or potentially as like a 10-year NFL starter.
So just a few other notes in this year's draft. Justin McCray went to the Tennessee Titans, Jordan McCray went to the Green Bay Packers, and Chris Martin went to the Houston Texans. All 3 of them were undrafted free agents signed to each of those teams. Now, for any other updates on all of other UCF players that were eligible for this year's draft and their status, follow us on Twitter at CFF Sports. I'm Jasmine Hankerson, CFF Sports.